Welcome to another First Impressions video. Today, we will be discussing the upcoming isometric action combat dungeon crawler with PvP MMO Herowarz. Kind of hard deciding what genre this game fits into. Even the devs had trouble explaining it, but overall it's an MMO. If you really enjoy story and lore, you will love this game, as long as you can get past the anime cartoony art style. I spent a few hours in the game. I played 2 different characters with very different playstyles. I feel like I've played enough to get a feel for the game and can share my thoughts. Again, with every First Impressions video, I also give my review of the game. This review is based off the First Impressions. Also, Herowarz is in closed beta, meaning that a ton of features are subject to change and the late game could be extremely different. So, let's get into it. In most MMOs that I try out, the story usually doesn't engage me. This is because a lot of MMOs just allow you to skip through everything, are filled with side quests, and don't provide good dialogue or cutscenes, making the story and lore feel unimportant. However, Herowarz is like one big story. I'll try to sum it up for you guys. Seriously though, if you guys don't want to hear the lore of this game, I suggest you skip ahead to this time.
There was a young boy named Ibrahim who dreamed every night, but his dreams were special and the things he dreamed of happened to the real world. As he got older, he dreamed about the destruction of the world, killing many citizens, turning cities into rubble, and leaving a select few alive. Eventually, he had his power sealed away into a necklace so that he couldn't turn his dreams into reality again. Trying to rebuild the world he destroyed, he failed, was attacked and fell into a deep slumber, deep down in the ocean. A few hundred years later, a girl named Maya was born, possessing the same powers. Somehow she acquired Ibrahim's necklace. She dreamed up a better kind of world, full of magic. Somehow the necklace shattered, destroying this world and sealing Maya away into an intense nightmare. This nightmare began to affect reality the same way Ibrahim's dreams did. The fragments from the shattered necklace spread across the world. Any creature affected by the fragments gained powers of their own. The earth was then consumed by shadows. A secret agency formed of people with special powers decided to take action after being alerted of this world crisis. Their goal is to find every shattered fragment and waking Maya from her nightmare so that the world can return to a better state.
And that's where you guys come into play. You have several characters to choose from, each with very unique playstyles. Character customization in this game isn't really a thing. Your character's looks and background is already decided. As I explained, it's a very story-driven game, and the hero you choose plays a very important role in the story. There are costumes in the game that will allow you to somewhat customize the appearance of your character, so eventually everyone won't look the same. You also can't change the name of your toon, but you decide a family or team username that will appear above your character no matter which toon you are playing. While choosing your character, you can take a look at gameplay videos to help you decide whether or not it fits your playstyle. Some of the characters didn't seem to have a video, but that's probably because it's still in beta. You can also read the story of your hero and what makes them unique. At the moment, there's only 6 characters to choose from, but from the website there seems to be more you can unlock later down the line, or maybe they'll get released with content updates. The art for this game is amazing. Every character and enemy that pops up throughout the dialogue and story of the game. I can't really say the same for the actual graphics of the game, but it has a unique art style. I'm pretty open-minded and don't expect every new game to have realistic graphics. 2D and anime style games will never die out. So again, this is the kind of game you can decide from the beginning if it's for you or not based off the graphics alone. I know from the comments on other videos this type of art style doesn't fly with everyone. The animations of your attacks are awesome. From the 2 heroes I played, they have very unique playstyles, which I'll get more into later. You will receive new gear, but it doesn't affect the appearance of your character, so costumes will most likely be on another tab or just skinned over your current gear. And the UI of this game is pretty nice. Everything is in a good spot for me. For the controls, you can play 2 types of ways. Keyboard mode using WASD to move, or mouse mode allowing you to click around. Usually I prefer mouse mode for these kinds of games, but sometimes my character would attack boxes and things like that when I was actually trying to move forward, so I switched to keyboard mode. I found both enjoyable and easy to get used to. When it comes to the introduction and leveling of this game, they throw you right into the action. You start off on an island or in another dimension where you learn the mechanics of the game. Within the first 10 minutes, you'll have fought waves of mobs, leveled a few times, learned a few skills, and fought a boss. So far for me, it's been dungeon after dungeon. With each dungeon, I seem to level up and learn a new skill. There's so many different combos you can do. The gameplay is very fast paced. When playing B, the guy who reminds me of Ichigo from Bleach because of his mask, I was stuck to close range combat. His playstyle is a bit weird too, a lot of skills using his health to deal a lot of damage. It's a cool concept, and I'm sure with practice you can manage this well, but at times it kind of got me killed. Also, when fighting bosses, I found it a little hard to dodge their attacks. I had to use certain attacks to escape, and sometimes they were on cooldown. Doesn't seem to be a side dash or roll to help you escape attacks. However, after switching to Hades, she's a more mid-range class using the ball and chain to crush her enemies. Instead of her right click being a slash charge like B's, her right click allows you to jump and dodge in the air, making her super evasive. I fell in love with the playstyle of this character. Now, I mentioned it was dungeon after dungeon, and that's not a bad thing. The story was very interesting. I mean, just from the few hours I've played, there were these tribal guys who got possessed and did bad things because there was no resources in their village to help them survive. It kind of made you feel bad killing these guys off. At one point I saved a woman who later down the line was actually evil and turned into a giant spider queen. The characters, dialogue, and voice acting are all A1 in my opinion. All the voice acting being in Korean, and I would not mind if they kept it this way. I can read subtitles just fine and would rather not have some shitty English voice acting that ruins the emotion I feel coming from these characters. As I leveled on B, I went through the game with friends or random party members. And partying in this game is interesting. You party up with the mount, and the mounts have enough space to hold 4 characters. I've seen a pumpkin carriage or something like that, a dumpster or bin being pushed by a rat, and my mount was some spooky looking guy pulling around a fish cart. So you can party like this in a main city or HQ, or you can go into a public channel for dungeons, and others who do the same will be put into your party. As you complete dungeons, you'll get rewarded for how good you have done with gold, items, and things like that. Not sure if gear comes from these rewards, but it does drop from bosses and mobs. So on B, I played with a party pretty much the whole time. On Hades, I went through each dungeon solo. I don't know if it's because I got better at the game or if they scaled down the difficulty because I was solo, but I destroyed each dungeon much easier than before. This game appears to be completely skill based, so you can dodge everything. With Hades' right click jump dodge move, I kept alive and rarely got touched. You learn skills almost every time you level up, sometimes being for new keys or sometimes being upgrades to your current skills. Your left click will level quite a bit, allowing extra hits or adding new effects. From the time I spent in the game, I was always finding new gear, and gear actually affects your skills. One piece of gear I had would summon a minion after doing my ult. I can only imagine what the in-game gear does. As you fight, you have a flask to use to recover HP, this flask being infinite by having a cooldown. Sometimes I had a second flask. I don't know how I acquired these potions because most of the time it was at 0, but playing solo it was definitely helpful. I just had to learn to manage between the 2 cooldowns. So it seems you can play this game solo just as much as you can play it with friends or randoms. Yet another MMO that can give even a solo player a good experience. This game does have PvP, but in the time I played I did not experience it, so I can't speak on it too much. I hear it's a 4v4 MOBA style mode. This game does have autopathing if you click on the minimap. Not that it's super needed because the maps are pretty small, but if you need to find an NPC or something, I guess it's good. The optimization of this game is clean. I had no crashes, lag, or frame drops. Everything was good except going to a character menu or skill menu, it seemed to be a little buggy, like it would get choppy for the first few seconds, but I'm sure this is something they can fix. The soundtrack of this game, which I never talk about soundtracks, it's very new school. Certain areas play that typical RPG jazzy kind of soundtrack while characters meet up and the dialogue goes on, or super actiony dramatic music while you're destroying hordes of enemies. But then after completing dungeons you get this electronic trap music. And then one of the last features I want to speak on is the fact that you can slap your friends around or jump on their heads at random times. It seems like it's just something to do for fun, but I actually think you can sit on somebody's head through a dungeon and not take damage. So maybe if you're like, hey, I gotta go AFK, about to make a sandwich, I'm just gonna jump on your head and carry me through. I think that's possible. Then again, I could be wrong and you could die while on the other person's head, but we tried it and I think it works like that. So my final thoughts in the game. Would I play it again? Hell yeah, it's definitely fun and I'd recommend it for those who like Diablo, Path of Exile, or just want a game to play with friends. But if you are used to your typical MMORPG with large regions or an open world, big dungeons and huge cities, it's probably not for you. The lore and story in this game is very good. I have no problem not being able to customize my character from scratch. Each hero looks pretty cool and has a unique backstory with their own dialogue and voice acting in the story. If you know what you're in for with this game, I don't think you can really complain about the customization. I'm sure the cash shop will be filled with cosmetics. Being by the same company as Elsword, you'll probably be able to buy seasonal outfits and things like that. And speaking of Elsword, this has a very similar concept to how you choose your character. There also seems to be some kind of companion system in the game where you get to form contracts with other heroes or creatures and have them fight alongside you. They seem to have skills to unlock, and I got some items that helped increase the XP or skills of these companions, but didn't get to actually mess around with this system. So let's talk pros and cons of this game from what I've played through so far. The first pro is the art style of this game. Now I know it might not fly with some of you, but for those of you that it does, I think you will appreciate the character design and the in-game graphics, especially the combat animations. It offers you different characters to choose from with unique skill sets and backgrounds, allowing you to easily switch when you want to try something different. Has over 100 dungeons and different difficulties to give you more of a challenge. Pretty cool gearing system where weapons actually affect certain skills, adding effects or more attacks. Not that I've played the PvP mode, but I also hear you can gain experience from killing other players, and if that's true, that's definitely a nice feature. Last but not least, the story is really good and the biggest part of the game to me. Your character feels very important. And here are the cons. The dungeons are pretty small and quick to run through, at least the ones I've experienced. And though the game is fun, I can't see it as something you'll play for years to come. It seems like something to play casually here and there, though there will be those who are dedicated to the full-time grind. And overall, looking at it from an MMO perspective, character customization really isn't a thing. If you're into that, this is not the game for you. And sure, there are costumes, but who knows just how obtainable those will be for the player without a wallet. So based off my first impressions, this game is a 7 out of 10 for what it is. The end game could very well be a blast, and I definitely think it's fun with friends. But as a main game, I don't think this could keep my attention. Doesn't mean it can't keep yours though. The devs for this game at KOG seem very passionate about it, and I think you should at least check it out. Their website is very well designed with some unique features on it, so I'll list it in the description. Let me know what you guys think. Is it your kind of game? Have you tried it or do you plan on it? I'll be lurking in the comments section. Until next time, guys. See you soon, friends.